I love Frieren. It's probably up there with one of my favorite anime ever. This got me thinking about some of you all's comments requesting a video on Frieren. There were great ideas such as the psychology of a hero by looking at Himmel, and yes, that is still on a to-do list. But after the Laios video, you all wanted to look at our favorite white-haired elf and see if she falls under criteria for autism. And we're gonna jump right into it. I've compiled a file for Frieren, looking at her background information, diagnostic criteria, and a general conceptualization of her. Let's take a peek inside of it, yeah? Oh. So the thumbnail wasn't just clickbait. Hi, I go by Guy. And friends, in my last video, we talked a lot about what autism is. Now, it's time we talk a little more about what autism isn't. If you'd like a 3-minute general overview of autism, please refer back to the Is Laios Autistic video that's on my channel. But as said before, Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD, is a neurodevelopmental disorder that causes differences in how people's brains work. This can, broadly speaking, affect the individual's ability to socialize and make new friends, understand other people's emotions, adjust to new and unfamiliar situations, and deal with certain types of sensory input that they may find overwhelming. It's also a spectrum. The range of the diagnosis and symptoms can affect people in many ways. However, as it comes to most diagnoses, it is a series of symptoms taken under a specific context. Autism is not just having a fixated interest. Otherwise, a lot of hobbyists and collectors would be considered autistic. Don't look at that bookshelf. Autism is not just social awkwardness. Everyone who's going through puberty would be autistic if that's the case. Autism is not just having certain reactions, or the lack thereof, to stimuli. A screeching chalkboard or the squealing wheel of a car is enough to make most people cringe. And autism is definitely not a lack of empathy. And I don't really have to expand on that because that's a stupid ass take. Autism is not just having a hard time communicating with others either, though that could potentially be social communication disorder, or SCD. There's a little bit of some technicalities with that one. But pretty much, autism is a mix of many intertwining characteristics that interfere with aspects of socialization with presentations of restrictive and repetitive behaviors, or RRBs. To be frank, autism is quite complicated as it is. We still have no idea where it originates. We understand that there are genetic influences that can affect the risk of autism. So if someone in your family is autistic, there's a high chance that someone else in your family is autistic as well. There are other birth-related factors that can impact autism as well, such as prenatal exposure, advanced parental age, and birth complications. And by the way, there is no connection between vaccines and autism. I will fight you both figuratively and literally on this point. Don't at me. But now that that's out of the way, let's get back to the main subject. We're going to briefly take each popular argument as why Frieren may be autistic, then use evidence from the show to counter them. Starting with criteria A, Frieren does showcase aspects of difficulties in social communication. We even have admissions of this in the anime, such as when Haiter is explaining to Fern that she is a little slow on reading people and potentially offending them. But we also hear that she eventually comes around and acknowledges her shortcomings and puts in the effort to correct her mistakes, such as when she offended Fern when her staff broke.
She saved my staff.
She is slow to realize her feelings for Himmel until after his death, and generally goes into most social interactions with the same expressiveness. She'll talk to a king-like figure in the same way she'll talk to bar patrons asking about sweets. But Frieren isn't autistic. She's an... Elsa ears. Elves in most media, and especially in Frieren, are extremely long-lived. They can live for thousands of years, living their lives and learning how to interact with the world. Frieren herself is the youngest elf that we see in the series, with Ciri and Kraft most likely being considerably older than her. Elves and Frieren may also grow and mature at different rates than us as well, but disregarding elf biology and maturation, as we can't confirm that in the anime right now, let's look at the defining characteristics of elves that we are told about from the anime. Elf lives are slow, and this is reflected in their behavior. Months, even years in their eyes may be the human equivalent of a couple days. This warped sense of time can lead to not feeling too attached to the world. We see this aloofness and her lack of care in being a registered mage, as registration methods will just change every few centuries. This can even be seen in a manner in which she bonds with others, often making comments on how short the time she spent with others were, or not revisiting people for decades at a time. The times where we do see her really communicate and talk to people as friends, outside of her party, are with other long-lived beings such as Vol, the dwarf that guards the village. We also see Frieren explain that elves, not just herself, don't really showcase a high libido or drive to find mates and express romantic feelings, and this is obviously shown through Himmel. Her deficits in developing, maintaining, and understanding social relationships isn't really a trait of autism, but more of a trait of elves and their warped perception of time. Nonetheless, we see that she is absolutely capable of making meaningful relationships and friends along with them. Further going along with criteria A, we see her demonstrate social-emotional reciprocity through having relatively normal back and forth conversations and being generally expressive in her interactions with others. Looking at criteria B, we are mainly looking for those restricted and repetitive patterns of behavior, interest, or activities. Do not look at my bookshelf again. We'll quickly throw out stimming behavior as we never really see it. Same with the insistence on sameness. Frieren doesn't really have a set routine or ritualized patterns that we observe in the anime. Frieren can barely even keep a sleep schedule. Also, I get it. I'm with you, Frieren. I feel you. What we will look at are the highly restricted fixated interest, however, which most people point out as a defining sign that Frieren is autistic. Frieren loves magic, despite just calling it her hobby. She collects folk magic and grimoires anytime that she can. She loves to spend time reading about it, studying it, sharing it, and talking about it. Many people in the anime also look at this abnormal collection of magic that she finds, seeing as she focuses primarily on folk magic, such as a spell that cleans bronze statues, heats up tea to the perfect temperature, or makes a bed of flowers. We also see some hyposensitivity in response to pain as well. We've seen her take damage throughout the Mage exams, tackled to the ground, and other times where she doesn't seem to react to pain as most people would. However, I have to disagree with the criteria, because Frieren isn't autistic. She's a... According to Ciri, magic and spells are instruments of war and violence. Frieren herself has a long history of fighting demons for centuries, receiving the moniker Frieren the Slayer. As such, being accustomed to fights, pain, and having to focus in battle, it makes sense why she doesn't have large reactions when receiving a wound. This is also apparent in many other mages in the series as well. Going to more of the physical side, when we are amped full of adrenaline, we often have a reduced ability to feel pain as well. However, in true Flam and Frieren fashion, spells and magic are their passions. Part of being a mage is also the researcher and nearly academic nature of it. To understand spells to the point that Frieren does, they must be studied, dissected, and compared to other spells and books of magic. Projecting my views as a student, it seems like mages are almost academic researchers, focusing on specific studies of magic and applying it to their utilization and research. Just as PhD students find their niche of research and go nearly whole hog into it. And to be honest, if I could use magic, I'd spend all my time studying what I could do with it as well. In fact, let's practice some magic by casting the subscribe spell, yeah? I'll give you a grimoire if you do. We can't look too much at Criteria C, mainly because we barely know anything about her past. We don't really see that these symptoms significantly bother her in social, occupational, or all the areas of functioning, and Criteria E just doesn't apply. So in conclusion, those are the reasons why I don't think Frieren is autistic. And while I may not believe that she's autistic, that doesn't mean that you still can't identify with her or see yourself in her if you are. Neurodivergence in mental health is already underrepresented in media as it is. It can be difficult to find characters that you feel connected with or that have your shared experience. As a person of color, it's hard to find many characters that are reflective of me in media as it is. Which is why when I see them, I hold fast to them as close as I can, even when it's not clearly laid out. Which is why Piccolo is black. And you should too, because at the end of the day, you are the final consumer of the media you watch. And whether a character is written to be autistic or not, just like with Laios, you can still see yourself in that character. But there is something that I feel everyone can relate to in regards to Frieren, because on top of being an elf, on top of being a mage, on top of being or not being autistic, Frieren is. We have seen Frieren take decades-long journeys, nearly without talking to anyone. We've seen her practice her magic in solitude for centuries. Being alone and self-isolation can result in us being disconnected with others, usually resulting in poor communication when it's not used a lot. And I think after a specific worldwide event in the early 2020s, everyone is still somewhat recovering from the effects of isolation as well. Nonetheless, it should be noted that Frieren doesn't appear lonely. She is content with being by herself. She is alright waiting for long periods at a time by herself, such as when she was willing to wait in jail for a decade. She generally doesn't mind reading and traveling by herself, but the aspect of being with others still seems to bring her joy. Being alone does not equate to loneliness, but finding connection brings us joy. And we see that in the anime because Frieren was alone. Frieren's journey had effectively changed her, and we see as much when the realization of Himmel's passing finally hits her. We see it in the way that she cares for and takes on Fern as her apprentice, even though she initially never wanted one. We see her actively going out to help others just as Himmel did, when before she would have walked past without a care. We see a lot of Frieren actively changing from how she was in the past while she was alone, particularly as she's on this current adventure with Stark and Fern. Because just like our lives don't end after a journey, we continue to develop and grow throughout life as well. And this is the same for our elf, because throughout her journey, Frieren is learning to be more Frieren. Thanks again for watching this video. I honestly can't express how much I love this anime, really. I think it covers the themes of loneliness, grief, and purpose astoundingly. That may honestly be my next video. And I honestly feel that I'm slowly turning into an anime YouTuber. But Also, thanks for recommending this as a video idea. I always read the comments and try to reply to them when I can, and I love seeing your ideas. Anyways, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments of this video. But once again, I go by Guy, and thank you for watching.